Tonight on NewsWatch, the dramatic events inside a school board meeting and stories of divine protection.
Plus, the Senate passes a tax cut bill. Now it goes to the House. Will it be done by Christmas?
And TV turns teenage girls into sex symbols. How far is too far? All this and more tonight on NewsWatch. His goal: to kill himself and everyone in the room. Good evening, I'm Lee Webb.
And I'm Wendy Griffith. It was an ordinary school board meeting that turned into a nightmare. A gunman taking hostages and opening fire.
It is a story that normally ends in tragedy, but this one is turning into a testimony. No one was injured, and those in the room are calling it a miracle. A video camera capturing the entire event.
Coming up, we'll talk with the superintendent who says God protected him. But first, John Woggy shows us what happened inside the boardroom. A warning, some of the video is disturbing.
Blay Duke hijacked the school board meeting by spray painting a red V from the movie Vendetta on the wall, then ordering women and children out of the room. He says he was angered by the board's decision to fire his wife, but the current members knew nothing about her. Duke pulled a gun, and it looked like there could be a mass shooting. Board member Ginger Littleton came back to the room and tried to disarm Duke with her purse, but she failed.
No, Ginger.
School board superintendent Bill Husfeldt pleads for Duke to release the others in the room, then tries to buy time by reasoning with him.
I don't want anybody to get hurt, and I've got a feeling that what you want is the cops come in and kill you because you're mad, because you said you're going to die today. But why? This isn't worth it. This is a problem. Please don't. Please don't. Please.
But Duke completely missed at close range. He was later wounded by 2 shots from security guard Mike Jones. Duke died after a self-inflicted gunshot to the head. Husfeldt believes God blocked the bullets meant for him.
There was a miracle that I wasn't shot. I was very confident that I was going to get shot, not pulling for it, but I mean, I was ready if that was going to happen. I knew where I would go if I were to pass away. I was very prepared for that.
County School Board Chairman Ryan Neves agrees.
I will tell you what, I've seen the room, and there is nothing short of a miracle that our superintendent is alive and well with us today. It's nothing short of a miracle that God protected him and stood in front of that bullet and pushed it another way. And I'm just here to tell you, if you're not a believer in miracles, watch that tape again.
John Woggy, CBN News.
Superintendent Bill Husfeldt joins us now from Florida. He's the man you just saw try and talk down the gunman. Mr. Husfeldt, you had a gun pointed directly at you. Shots were fired. Somehow you weren't hit, and now you're alive to tell the story. Do you think there was some divine protection in that room?
No, I don't think it. I know it. You know, I knew God was in there with us. I just thought he was right there beside me the whole time, but it was evident he was standing in front of me the whole time. And I don't say that casually. I mean that. I get goosebumps just thinking about it, but I know that there's no other explanation. If you could see the bullet holes that are all behind where all of us were, and how he tried to shoot all of us, there's no other explanation for it. I mean, people can say what they want, but there's no other explanation for it.
When you watch the video, I mean, it looks like that gun and those bullets are going right for the center of your chest. I mean, it's hard to imagine that he could miss you. I mean, he wasn't that far from you.
No, he was only about 7 or 8 feet from me, and you know, hey, if God didn't want it to happen, it wasn't going to happen. The bullet ended up lodging in my board book that's about that thick. And the police gave me pictures of it today and everything, and showed me, and we went in there and looked around, and all the bullet holes that are back there. I mean, there's no other explanation for why we weren't hurt or maimed.
I mean, it had to be a miracle. That bullet had to have missed you by just millimeters.
You're right. I mean, and you know, we knew he was going to shoot. He told us he was going to kill himself and us. He had a death wish. There's no doubt that that's what he came in there for. He was ready to do that, committed to do that, and you could tell by looking in his eyes, he just had no hope, and there was obviously there were problems there.
Bill, how did you remain so calm?
Well, I could cry and get upset and worry, or just deal with it, and the only weapon we had was time. We knew that there was help on the way. I knew the security officer was in the building. I kind of looked at him at one time, and I could tell that he was going back to get his gun or weapons or whatever he needed. And we could hear the sirens, and so we just tried to talk and reason with him. And he didn't want to reason, but I think that we prolonged him long enough, and that God allowed us to talk to him long enough so that when he took that first shot, our safety officer, without backup, because by then he knew he couldn't wait any longer, went in there and became the real hero in this.
Let me ask you this. Was there a moment when you thought, this is it, this is the end of my life?
I knew I was going to get shot. I kind of accepted that when he was standing there, and he'd already made it clear he was mad at me.
All right.
He knew about me. We argued back and forth, and he knew. I'm telling you that I've never seen that kind of look. He had a look and a grimace about him that, this was going to happen.
Now, how is this whole incident affecting your faith?
Strengthening it. I mean, I feel very confident in my faith already, and my youngest daughter's sitting over here. She's helping me with all the emails. It's just, you would believe the outpouring of prayers and people sending us information and things, but I couldn't focus on my family, but I knew that God was there with us, and I was ready to die if that's what was going to happen. I didn't want to, but I knew that if I were killed, I knew what was going to happen to me. I knew that I was going to heaven. I mean, I didn't doubt that. I wasn't saying, okay, God, make this happen right now. But, I mean, I knew that God was in that room and taking care of us, and whatever he wanted to happen was going to happen.
That's a great feeling, because a lot of people don't know where they're going to go when they die. And so that's a good feeling to have. Well, Bill Husfeldt, thanks so much for coming on the program. I know this will be an especially Merry Christmas for you and your family. God bless you.
God bless you. Thank you.
The approval ratings for Congress are at record lows. A new Gallup poll shows only 13% of Americans approve of the way Congress is doing its job. That's the lowest rating on record. The previous low of 14% was taken in 2008 during the financial crisis. Well, it's now up to the House to extend the Bush-era tax cuts. The Senate passed the bill today with an 81-19 vote, but the measure will certainly see more opposition in the House. Another important item the lame duck session has to pass is a budget bill, but critics argue it has too much pork spending in it. Jennifer Wishon has the story now from Washington.
There's something for everyone to dislike, but the bill also includes goodies that members crave, revealing that despite the midterm election and public call for spending restraint, Congress is still in the business of handing out special breaks. Along with extending the Bush-era tax cuts, the bill allows Hollywood to deduct as much as $20 million of movie production costs for doing business in low-income communities. Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands will reap an increase on the tax on imported rum, and motorsports entertainment complexes like NASCAR also get a tax break.
I am absolutely convinced that this tax cut plan, while not perfect, will help grow our economy and create jobs in the private sector. It'll help lift up middle-class families who will no longer need to worry about a New Year's Day tax hike.
Another bill expected to pass this week, a 1,900-page, $1.2 trillion spending bill. It's a catch-all appropriation designed to keep the federal government running. And like the tax bill, it also has Americans opposed to pork barrel spending holding their noses. Altogether, the bill includes more than 6,000 pet projects worth $8 billion, including $80 million to states and Indian tribes to preserve Pacific salmon, $2.5 million for bike paths in Illinois, $4 million for the Kentucky National Guard to eradicate marijuana, and $500,000 for transportation improvements at the Bronx Zoo. There's also $1 billion to start funding President Obama's health care law.
The voters made an unambiguous statement last month. They don't like the wasteful spending. They don't want the Democratic health care bill. and they don't want lawmakers rushing staggeringly complex, staggeringly expensive bills through Congress without any time for people to study what's buried in the details.
Democrats have a deadline of midnight Saturday to pass the bill. It may be the last hurrah for congressional fat cats. Incoming Speaker of the House John Boehner is promising to ban earmarks and cut as much as $100 billion from agency budgets. He calls the spending bill a, quote, smack in the face to taxpayers. Jennifer Wishon, CBN News, Washington.
The top general of the Marine Corps is warning that lifting the ban on gays serving openly in the military could put Marines' lives in danger. General James Amos says he doesn't want anything to distract from the mission at hand. He says that allowing gays to serve openly would disrupt the tight bond the troops form while training for war. The House is likely to pass the measure this week, but it could have a tough time making it through the Senate.
Coming up, making girls too sexy, too young. A call for the media to stop exploiting young women.
If you have Medicare, you may have questions.
Do you have the right Medicare health plan? Are you saving money? Are you with a company you can rely on?
Now you can get answers to these important questions in this free, fact-filled booklet, Living Better with Medicare. It's your guide to Humana Medicare Advantage plans, and it's yours just by calling 1-877-323-3703 or visiting us online at humanaanswers.com.
With a Humana plan, you get both medical and prescription drug coverage from one of the nation's leading health benefits companies. And you're covered when you see your doctor or specialist, or even if you have to go to the hospital. Humana plans cover many preventive services such as mammograms and prostate exams.
And best of all, Humana Medicare Advantage plans have an affordable monthly health plan premium, or even no plan premium in some areas, so costs are easy to budget. You can get all the facts in this free booklet, Living Better with Medicare. Just call 1-877-323-3703 or go online to humanaanswers.com.
With a Humana plan, you get more. Extras like a fitness center membership and a 24-hour nurse advice line. There's even a prescription home delivery service that's going to save you money and trips to the pharmacy.
To find out if you have the right Medicare health plan, you need to get the facts and learn about the Humana Medicare Advantage plan. Don't put this off. The call and the book are free and there's no obligation. That number again is 1-877-323-3703 or go to humanaanswers.com. Call or go online now for the free booklet so you can get the facts and start living better with a Humana Medicare Advantage plan. Just call 1-877-323-3703.
Network and cable television continue to push the boundaries on showing sexual and perverse material. Now a disturbing trend is emerging, the sexualization of young teen girls. The Parents Television Council just released a report detailing this growing problem, and Dan Isett is with that group. He joins us now from Washington. Dan, what did this report find, and how widespread is the problem?
Unfortunately, it found what you might presuppose without having read the report, that teenage girls are being exploited and sexualized at rates that are hardly comprehensible.
How is it different than it was, say, 5-10 years ago?
Well, the trends are certainly in the wrong direction, but if you use the American Psychological Association's definition between healthy and unhealthy sexual behavior, about 75% of these sexual scenes in these shows depicted sexuality in an unhealthy way. So in addition to the content being there in the first place, it's almost universally done so in a way that's frankly irresponsible.
Yeah, many of these programs are aimed at teenagers, we understand. And what effect does watching these shows have, according to your research?
Well, the academic research points toward children who are exposed to this type of material early tend to act out what they've seen at an earlier and earlier age. In other words, if a child is exposed to sexual content, they'll tend to be more sexually active earlier in life, and both from a moral and a health perspective, that's not a good thing.
Dan, I've been here at CBN for a long time, and it seems like every year I'm doing an interview, if not with you, with someone from your group talking about this problem. At what point does your group say enough is enough in talking to the networks? It's time to tell parents to turn the television off.
Well, certainly that's what we're trying to do. You know, television is a powerful and frankly wonderful medium. It can be used for good and for evil in this case. And we're certainly hopeful that the networks will cease this trend and turn it in the right direction. But ultimately, the marketplace is going to have to speak, and parents and families are going to have to make sure that their children are protected as well.
But you are speaking to network officials?
Absolutely. We try to have as much dialogue with them as we possibly can.
What's their response?
I'm not sure about the response to this particular report, and you know, some networks and some individuals are certainly more open to the idea of changing their ways than others. But we'll certainly keep the pressure on and do our best to represent the vast majority of people who are concerned about these things. And
when you say pressure, Dan, what are we talking about?
Well, a number of different things. Advertisers principally have a responsibility to play, because especially on free over-the-air programming, you know, they're the ones who actually foot the bill for all the programming that you see. So, so at the end of the day, it's really advertisers who are just as responsible for this programming as those who write and produce the shows are.
And is that having a positive impact in your efforts?
Well, absolutely it does. It's difficult to say if not for what we did, things would be much worse, but I firmly believe that. You know, there's always more work to be done, but I do think that we're at least doing a good job of being the Dutch boy in the dam in this case.
Okay, very good. Well, I know there are a lot of parents, including me, who appreciate the work you and your group are doing. Dan Isett, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Up next, a common infection that can turn deadly, what you need to know about preventing sepsis.
CBNNews.com. News you want, when you want, 24/7. Stay current with up-to-the-minute stories.
David Brody, CBN News, Capitol Hill.
I don't have to wait for my news anymore.
CBNNews.com, at your fingertips all day long.
I only watch the stories I want to see.
I find the story, I click on it, and boom, I'm there.
I'm Chris Mitchell, reporting from Jerusalem.
The source for your news, CBNNews.com.
The Priests, Noel, their first ever Christmas album, featuring such favorites as Hark the Herald Angels Sing, God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen, Little Drummer Boy, Oh Come All Ye Faithful, and many more. The Priests, Noel, available now.
If you have diabetes and you're on Medicare, call now for a new pain-free meter. These new meters are more accurate, they're easier to use, and the best news is you don't have to prick your fingers anymore. Call now, and Arriva Medical will send you one of these new meters for free. And if you have Medicare, your testing supplies may also be covered. Arriva makes it simple. They bill Medicare directly. There are no upfront costs. And they deliver your supplies right to your door for free. With these new meters, there's no coding, you don't have to prick your fingers, and some of these meters even talk.
Your blood glucose reading is 122.
And if you call 1-800-284-9762, we will send you a free Betty Crocker Diabetes Cookbook filled with delicious recipes.
Call Arriva today. You'd be glad you did.
The Priests, Noel, their first ever Christmas album, featuring such favorites as Hark the Herald Angels Sing, God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen, Little Drummer Boy, Oh Come All Ye Faithful, and many more. The Priests, Noel, available now.
Well, it may be the deadliest disease you've never heard of. People first develop it after they get an infection.
It sounds ominous, doesn't it? About 750,000 Americans get it each year, and nearly a third of them die. It's called sepsis, and even the healthy are at risk. Lori Johnson has tonight's Focus Report.
Jackie Richards' prosthetic arms and legs take some getting used to, but her faith helps her stay positive.
I've always had a very blessed life.
She lost her limbs after a near-fatal bout with sepsis.
I went to dinner with my friend, had some sushi, and went to her house and played with her nieces and nephews on a trampoline, jumping up and down. And that was pretty much the last day I felt normal.
2 days later, she went to the emergency room.
Student nurses came in and asked me what the symptoms were, what was I feeling, and I was telling them about the pain in my stomach, and after that I blacked out.
Septic shock put her into a coma for 2 weeks. Her vital function shut down, stopping circulation into her hands and feet. Gangrene set in, requiring the amputations.
I'd never heard of sepsis before, so I had no idea what that meant when I woke up.
She's not alone. Nearly 3/4 of Americans are also unaware. Sepsis is the body's negative reaction to an infection. Half of all cases come from fairly regular infections like pneumonia or those in the urinary tract. The other half come from infections contracted in the hospital like staph. So prevent infection and you can prevent sepsis. The best defense, wash your hands often. Also, avoid people with infections and strengthen your immune system by getting lots of rest, eating fresh fruits and vegetables, and keeping stress down. Preventing hospital infections is another matter. Centera Bayside Hospital in Virginia Beach, Virginia, is rated by Consumer Reports as one of the nation's very best at preventing infections. Their extensive checklist even stops doctors from wearing neckties because ties are never washed. Bayside's low infection rate translates into high patient satisfaction.
I'm a germaphobe myself, so I felt right at home. I did. You see, I've got my own hand sanitizer.
Bayside pays particular attention to one of the main causes of hospital infections, medical devices inserted into patients.
We would consider anything that is attached to a patient, such as a ventilator tube or an IV line, as extension of the patient. And even if you're just manipulating that and not touching the patient's actual body, you're supposed to wear gloves.
In addition to cleanliness, those devices must be removed as soon as possible.
We try to get patients off the ventilator as soon as we can, and that goes for all devices. We would round each and every day on every patient, look at all the devices they have. We'll document if they need it or not need it.
Although hospital staff are largely responsible for keeping patients healthy, there are things patients can do to protect themselves. Dr. Jean Burke oversees all 10 of Centera's hospitals.
And every patient should feel totally empowered to say to everybody that walks in the room, have you washed your hands? Would you mind doing it now? Because doctors' hands aren't going to fall off for washing them too often.
Patients can go even further in monitoring their own care.
Talk to your care team and basically try to help them know that you expect to have the fewest number of things put into you that's necessary, and that you would like them every single day, if you have a catheter or an IV in, to answer the question, is it still necessary today? Every single day, ask and answer that question.
While it's important to minimize infections, when they do occur and develop into sepsis, the treatment is antibiotics and fluids immediately, because every hour without them, the chance of survival decreases 8%. By the time Jackie was treated, her chance for survival had dropped to just 15%. So although sepsis took her hands and feet, at least she still has her life.
I take every day as it comes, and I'm thankful for every day that I get.
Lori Johnson, CBN News.
Up next, why one big-name candy company is rerouting its entire staff to Fargo.
Finding video on CBN.com just got easier.
We've taken all our video, the 700 Club, news, testimonies, teachings, plus our 24/7 channels, and put them in one convenient location, CBN TV. Watch what you want, when you want. It's all simple to find, and now easier than ever to email a story to a friend. CBN TV on CBN.com.
The doctor came in. I was still waking up from anesthesia. He leaned over my bed and he said, "Laura, you have cancer." And he walked out of the room. The first thought is, what's going to happen to my children?
It's pretty rare for a person as young as me to get Hodgkin's disease. Well, you would think, am I going to be here next year? Am I going to be able to spend more time with my family? And that was really hard.
The doctor says I would like to have his wife, his pastor, and his two best friends present. Then you know you're about to receive really bad news. There was very little hope given to us.
I just wanted this cancer out of me. I wanted to take care of it and move on.
We saw an ad on TV for Cancer Treatment Centers of America, and when I called them, I was very surprised that they were so quick to help us.
The second that we walked through the door, I knew that was the place that I wanted to be. If it wasn't for their kindness and giving, it would be unbearable to be able to go through something like that. And I honestly don't know how people who don't get that are able to handle it.
We were looking for medical care that would help us fight cancer, not manage it, but to actually fight it and beat it. And that's what we found.
Most people thought that that was a death sentence. I knew that I wanted to fight this. I knew I wasn't going to let that happen to me.
If you're a winner and you're a fighter and you're strong, you're going to stay that way. Your mental makeup, your attitude that you've taken your whole life with you, you're going to keep that attitude.
I said, let's just do it, and let me go on with my life.
Call now and we'll send you this free DVD that shows you how the most compassionate group of people anywhere puts you at the center of everything we do. Advanced medical treatment combined with unique supportive therapies give you treatment options you may not even know exist.
Cancer Treatment Centers of America is the way of the future. Patients are now taking control of their own healthcare destiny.
I truly wondered when he had cancer if I would ever get him back. Thanks to Cancer Treatment Centers of America, I have my husband back.
Well, it's probably not what the high-powered staff of a major corporation had in mind for their annual getaway.
I don't think so. A big-name candy company is hosting its yearly convention in a very unconventional place. Just Born Industries is the maker of Mike and Ike's, Peeps, and Hot Tamales. The company is sending its entire sales team to freezing Fargo, North Dakota. But it wasn't their first choice. The company set corporate goals, and if they reached them, they were off to Hawaii. And if they didn't, the plane would be redirected a little further north.
It's cold, but we love it. I think the people have been great to us so far. We were at the VFW Hall last night for all-you-can-eat spaghetti dinner.
We watched the movie Fargo last night. And everyone's been really friendly. Downtown's fantastic. I'm from Phoenix, Arizona, and people have a lot of misconceptions about Fargo. Other than the cold. The cold is true.
Nice hats. The company added to the humor by, as you can see, providing each employee with their very own Arctic rabbit fur hat.
Just watching the movie Fargo would be punishment. You'd want to get out of there after watching that movie.
Their good team spirit. They still, are keeping their spirits high because they really want to go to Hawaii next year.
I think they provided the needed motivation to make sure they're in Hawaii next year.
Actually, that's right. Well, that's all for this edition of Newswatch.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Good night.
Good night.